Good evening and welcome to Driver's Ed this 1st of June, cool Monday evening. So I invite you to sign in, show me that you are present, and we'll wait for people to check in before we start class. It'll be interesting. Good evening, good evening. It's going to be kind of tough since I heard that basically school is over for you. Only makeup work this week. I guess I'm the only class that you have left that you're trying to finish, so it's good to see people popping on, one right after another. Sam, I see you just came on. In the comments for YouTube, just let me know whether you got the message that I sent to you. Because really, I believe that that video is top notch. You have a chance to do really well in this competition if you were to submit it. And I do a lot of competitions. And since this one is only till, I think, June 10th, and today's the 1st, there's only 9 days for people to put something together. I don't think many people will do it. So you're ahead of the game if you decide to do it. And if you need some help with editing, I wouldn't mind helping you out this weekend to do some editing. Oh, good, you got it. So hopefully you'll think about it and do it. I really think you should. Tomorrow will be the midterm, so I want to talk a little bit about that. Let me get out of the music here. I was going to send out the answers. I did go through a couple people's text messages to see what you had and what you didn't have, but I'll try to do that later tonight, tomorrow morning. But if I have all the answer keys right here, so if you've completed all your homework, I'll send you a copy so you can check. So I've looked through it. I think most people had at least the 80% that I'm looking for. Every once in a while, people would miss a multiple choice, but I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more concerned that you did do it. And to be honest with you, most of the questions are pretty easy, so you shouldn't have really messed up. But if you really wanted to see how you did, I can give you the copy to the answer keys so you could take a look at it. The midterm will not be heavy on the chapters per se. Like I said, half of it will be signs, a lot from the PowerPoint or our presentation, and I'd say maybe 10 to 15 questions out of, I think there's like 70 questions, maybe right from the textbook assessments that you had to do, so it would be minimal, but more from our presentations that I'm giving you here online. A lot of common sense questions, putting you in situations, what would you do? But half of them will be signed. So study the section, chapter 3 in the textbook, and I think it's section 6 in the manual, dealing with the rules of the road. So last week, heavy information that will be tested on. So we'll do that. Tonight, we're going to get into talking about speed. I also have a little bit of a PowerPoint on filling the car up with fuel. Oh, the other thing that I want to mention, if you haven't heard already, I am now behind the wheel of the car with students. So now my classes that I've had in the past are starting to try to catch up with their driving. So hopefully by the end of the month, by the end of this class, I'll be driving with you. If for whatever reason, the other 30 people that I'm dealing with, if they don't want to drive and you want an opportunity to drive in a week or two, we'll fill those spots up with you. But I am now behind the wheel. So I just got home about an hour ago. Made sure that I had my videos and everything set up and a PowerPoint, but I've been behind the wheel today for about 9 hours with student. Good day driving with everybody. So they did well. So can't wait to meet you and to get you behind the wheel, and that is coming up soon. So that gives you a little bit of idea of what's happening in my world and with driver's ed. And I'll speak a little bit more about what to expect when you do come to the car to drive, because we have to take precautions, because I don't want you to give me COVID and I don't want to give you COVID. Basically, I'm kind of locked up here in this room in my house and just doing driving. So I don't really go many places, maybe the grocery store every once in a while. But for the most part, I'm going to make sure that I can get everybody in driving, so I don't want to get sick. So let's take a look back at what we were covering about speed. So let's get into this. We ended last Thursday's class talking about, well, what really determines a safe speed. Part of being a good driver is to be able to assess what is happening on the fly, meaning understanding when traffic is starting to get heavy, when you start seeing more signs you may not understand, traffic lights, pedestrians, anything that's causing you to really think about what you have to do with driving. You shouldn't be going the speed limit. You should be going slower, because a slower speed is going to give you more time for that thinking process of what to do up ahead. Too many times we get in a car and moving the vehicle, at least with speed, gets to be a sensation. It's what feels right. And sometimes it's not necessarily what should be happening with the number on the speedometer. So you could actually feel like you're going at the speed limit, but in actuality, you're not. You're going probably faster. Or it could be the opposite if you're really new driving. I've had people think that they're going the speed limit and they're 10 miles below the speed limit because it's frightening how fast that they're going. The thing that I want you to write down, and this is where we're going to have a major debate. The safest speed is the average speed at which other traffic is moving, but there's an asterisk here indicating provided that you don't go over the posted speed limit. So let's talk about the law. Okay, so if the speed limit says 35, the law is 35. Now let's deal with reality. Reality tells us that probably 95% of the people that are out on the roadway are not at or below the speed limit. 95%. 5% probably are. Okay? And that would probably be your new drivers, your older drivers, maybe people that are not feeling well, maybe impaired. They're going to be the ones that are at the speed limit going a little bit slower. But most everybody else is going to be going above the speed limit. And I gave you this before. I'm going to give you a little bit above. I'll give you a 5-mile-per-hour cushion above, 5 mile below the speed limit cushion. Try not to go too slow. Try not to go too fast. And you're going to be okay. I don't think you're going to run into any particular problems, whether it be once you're a licensed driver or once you go for your driving test. We know that you can't be perfect all the time. There are going to be fluctuations in your speed. But you have to know what the speed limit is by the nature of the road that you're driving on. Is it a rural road? Is it a city road? Is it a highway? You have to basically know what is required and then make your decision of what the speed that you're going to go. Other things that will go into the factor of what is the speed I'm going to travel, and this is tied in so closely to stopping. This is why I've always grouped up my topic of stopping with speed, dealing with stopping first, because we know that the brake is one of the most important things to know how to control. And then from there, we launch off onto how fast should I actually be going behind the wheel. So think about your brakes, your suspension, your tires. If any of these are having any issues, first of all, you should get it fixed, get it looked at. And if you're driving and you don't have a place that will, take a look at it, you better be going below the speed limit. And then the last four things deal with you as a person, your sprains, your fatigue, emotional state. Drugs and alcohol will be talked about next week. So we'll be getting into that. But definitely the way that you're thinking will have a lot to do with how you look at and how you control the speed of the vehicle. Now, the highway department and traffic engineers have done many studies. They've looked at traffic flow, crashes, average speed of other cars, and they've come up with what they feel is the basic speed for that particular road. Now, remember, depending on population and traffic flow, a speed limit can change any day, meaning the road you're driving on today at 35, a week from now they could pass a law and they could push it up to 40 or drop it down to 25 or 30. So speed limits can change, okay? But it's basically set by the highway department and the traffic engineers. You will, and I'd make a little asterisk on your notes, I will test you on your speed limits. And we'll be going over all the speed limits in a moment. But if you're not going the speed and there's nobody around, meaning no other cars, no police officers, what's the danger? Not much. Not much of a danger. Now, if you had a blowout or an engine situation, the faster the speed, the harder it is to control the car. But you have to realize that one of the main jobs of a police officer is to make sure people are following rules and regulations and that everybody's treated the same and doing the same thing. So they're trying to get you to go slower. So how does the police officer know that you're breaking the law? Does he just look at your car or look at you and think that you're going fast, so I'm going to pull this person over? What is the technology that they're using? So I want you to write this down. I think we're all familiar with radar or laser. Okay, those are the two forms of mechanisms that the local police and state police use to monitor how fast you're going. Now, the one here technique that they use in New Hampshire that you're probably not familiar with, I want you to write this down, is checking speed by aircraft. And I'm going to get out of this for a minute and get into me. So what they're doing is they're monitoring people driving from above. So as you're driving on a highway, once you get beyond a section of the roadway, they've got like a stopwatch, and they're going to time you from one point to another point. And there's a mathematical equation that's going to allow them to know how fast you're going. So what they're going to do is they're going to radio up ahead to a police officer that could be a mile or two down the road. He's going to be outside of his cruiser, and he's going to see you coming towards him, and he's going to look right at you, and he's going to point at you, and he's going to say, pull over. And you're thinking, me? What did I do? You were just, driving down the road, listening to your favorite music, not paying attention to how fast you're going. You got a nice car. You're going pretty fast. And all of a sudden you're going, oh, he's pointing me to pull over. And you're looking at your speedometer. You're noticing you're going 15, 20 miles over the speed limit. Well, how did he catch you? He caught you from the aircraft, and he timed you. So this is what you can write down. They only do this on major roads. So these are the roadways that you have to be aware of. Spalding Turnpike, okay, going from Portsmouth towards North Conway. 101, which is one of the only major routes that we have in New Hampshire that goes east-west. Everything else goes north-south. So 101. 95, Portsmouth to Boston. 93, Concord to Salem and Nashua. 89. Okay, these are the major interstates and roadways that they can use aircraft. And a lot of times when you don't pull over, if they're looking at you and say you pull over and you don't do it, there's going to be another police officer behind him, and he's going to radio ahead, okay, the red Camaro didn't pull over. I was pointing at him. Okay, pull him over. So now you've got a speeding ticket and disobeying a police officer that told you to pull over. So if there's any doubt whether they're talking to you, put your directional on and stop moving over. If he doesn't watch you, he's going to look at you and go, no, not you, the person behind you. I want you to pull over. And that's how they're going to get you. All right. Did this go out? Oh, that's the, okay, let's see if I got the video hooked up here.
If you reckon you can get away with speeding, look at this. Police radars are more sophisticated than ever. He's about 1 kilometre away, this fella. Watch this. Got him. He had no idea. Here you go. Just slow down, it's not worth it. Over 200 cars with these radars are out day and night. And back in town, the new ProLight lasers can pinpoint a speeding driver in busy traffic and catch him. It's just not worth speeding, because we'll catch you before someone gets hurt.
What I really liked about this particular video, which of course is Australia, you can tell by the accent, is how they have the handheld and they can look through like binoculars and lock you right in. The technology is changing yearly. And I say this to all my driver's ed classes, so I'm going to speak it out to you. If you are the type that likes to go fast, I'm going to get out of here again. If you like to go fast and you think a radar detector is going to get you out of speeding tickets, you're wrong, okay? They know the technology that is out there, okay? It only works, and I'm going to hold up my cell phone to be like a radar detector. So you've mounted this on your dashboard. You've turned it on. And if you've ever been in a car with a radar detector, you know that it's got a little blinking light and it can beep and make noises. So when it senses that you're being watched, okay, it's going to make noise. It is going to maybe vibrate. It's going to, light up. It's going to tell you that someone is monitoring your speed. Okay, so then what do? You bring your speed down. All right. Now, they still might be able to pull you over. Okay, maybe your detector's not a good detector and they locked you in before your machine alerted you. But the other thing that you saw in that last video is right now with my phone, it's on. You can see that it's on. Okay, if I turn it off, right now it's off. Well, let's see if I can get it off. I think when I show my picture in the screen, it goes on. Okay, it's off. All right, so your radar detector doesn't know that there's a police officer around. All of a sudden, a police officer thinks you're going a little bit too fast. He's going to take his laser and he's going to turn it on. See, I just turned my phone on. Now, inside your car, it's going like crazy, but I've already locked you in because I visually looked at a car that I thought was going fast. I turned on my laser or radar. I've now locked you in. This does not do you any good. And the other thing that you should remember, in New Hampshire, it is not illegal to have a radar detector, but it is in other states. So if you're the type that is going to travel around, when you go from one state to another and you've got it in your vehicle and they know you have it in your vehicle, you're going to get another type of ticket. Okay, you're not supposed to have it in your vehicle, even if you're from out of state. I think Connecticut is the closest state that I know of, or at least it used to. I should look it up for tomorrow's class, whether it's illegal to have a radar detector. I just think it gives you a false sense of what is happening out there. It's giving you want the luxury of going as fast as you want and not getting caught. That is the only reason why you have a radar detector is because you don't want to get caught speeding. Guess what? If you go the speed limit, you'll never get caught for speeding. So let me leave you with that. Let's take a look at another video with radar.
We've had this van for 2.5 years. They recently, at the beginning of August, just installed better cameras in the front and the rear. They're 12 megapixel cameras now. The old ones used to be 2 megapixels, so the images are way better. There's a lot of criteria that have to be met with the van. The speed limit signs have to say 45 miles an hour, and it's a $375 minimum fine. There have to be the speed photo enforcement signage out here as well that says that there's a photo van out here that's enforcing the speed. And then there has to be construction workers in the area. As you can see, the van is fully marked Illinois State Police photo enforcement van. There's no hiding about it. It's totally marked, okay? On the top there, it's a warning radar up on top. It's not the speed that's the enforcement speed, it's the warning speed. So if they don't see that sign, then they get hit with the other radar, which is the actual enforcement radar. It's not a standalone thing. We can't just set the van out here unmanned and just let it run by itself all day long. We still have to visually observe the vehicles traveling towards the van. With any type of radar system, the first thing we have to do is we have to make a visual observation of a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed coming towards the van. We visually observe that, and we say, hey, that vehicle's traveling faster than it should be. The radar goes ahead and it confirms what our observations were. This one takes a picture of the face of the driver, the front of the car, tells the front camera in so many seconds it's going to be passing by. Shoot a picture of the rear of the vehicle so we can capture the license plate. We actually do a photo review. So what we do is when the company will send us back the images of the vehicles when we were out deploying, they'll actually send us the images back. And what we do is set 2 computers up. We have access to the digital photos on your Illinois driver's license, and we'll take that person's image with their registration information and compare it to the person driving the vehicle. If those 2 pictures match up, we say go ahead and approve the citation and send it out. If they don't match up, if it's somebody else driving the vehicle, we don't send the citations out. There's a huge misconception that we're just out here to make money, that the state police is out here just as a money maker. It's not. We're out here to save the construction workers' lives. 45 is 45. I mean, it's black and white. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if you don't want to receive a citation, then stay to the right and do 45, you know.
Okay, a couple things from the video. First of all, remember I spoke on this when we were talking about red light runners. We call this photo enforcement. So as you saw, they're going to send you out your ticket. There is not going to be a police officer that pulls you over that day. It is all done by the mail. It is your responsibility to go down to the police station or the courthouse or wherever. They're asking you to go pay the ticket or fight the ticket, and you've got to say that it's not you. The thing about photo enforcement, just as quickly as that camera can take a picture, someone is getting a ticket. The conventional way, when you get pulled over by a police officer, from the time that they put the blue lights on and they pull you over to the side of the road, we're going to talk about what should you do if you get pulled over. It takes 10 to 15 minutes for them to talk to you, go back to the cruiser, look up your license registration, write out the ticket, and then come back and give you the ticket. This photo enforcement, you could do hundreds of tickets within an hour. So if they have to throw out half of them, doesn't matter, okay? And like you said, they're not trying to make a quota. They're just trying to make the road safer. Remember, they're not making you go faster. You're making that decision. They're just posting, this is what we want you to go. If you don't go it, guess what? When you go by the van, they're going to take your picture and you're going to get a ticket. Okay, you have to know these things. You can't, it's very difficult to fight it, especially with technology. It just locks you, it locks you right in. Here is a police officer from, I think, Illinois.
Hi, I'm Bo Babkin. We're coming to you from the Cottonwood Heights Police Department in Utah. The next question is, how does a radar gun work, or how does radar work? There's two different types of radar in our world right now, and there are others, but the two I'll talk about is, one is regular radar, which is a frequency-based type of radar, and then we have LiDAR, which is laser, which is the acuity of a laser radar gun is pretty close to being perfect. I mean, you can, from many, many hundreds of feet, you can put a laser on the front of a license plate and measure how fast somebody's going, as opposed to the other one I talked about briefly before, and that's the regular radar, or the frequency radar, where it sends out a frequency and it calculates how fast somebody's going. Sometimes, or most of the time, an officer will be standing stationary, and that machine will measure the speed of a vehicle and how fast it's going. There are other situations where we can measure the speed of a vehicle as well when a patrol car or a police car is going in one direction and a car is coming in the other direction. That machine that's being used is measuring the speed of the actual vehicle that's going to measure it, and measuring the speed of the vehicle coming towards. So it's really quite a machine, and I know we don't have enough time to really explain all of it, but I know they work very well, one on frequency, one on laser beam, if you will.
So it's pretty technical, pretty involved when it comes to setting up, and I don't like using the word speed trap or speed enforcement. I should say speed enforcement. It's not entrapment. Entrapment means they're making you do something that you normally wouldn't do on your own. They're making you do it. No one's making you go faster. So a lot of people get upset when they say, please, officers, hang out in the bushes, tuck their vehicle in on a little side street, just around a corner or over a hill. That's fine. They can do that. That's what they're supposed to do. We want to make sure that our roads are safe. So they're not making you go faster. They're just monitoring what you're doing. This is what I was mentioning earlier, that you need to know these speed limits. So let's deal with the first one, the school zone. It's 10 miles below the posted speed limit, 45 minutes before the school opens, 45 minutes after school closes. So there is a time frame, that 45 minutes. So there's only 2 times a day, morning and then mid-afternoon. A lot of people say, well, how do I know that? When can I tell? Well, most school zones will have a school zone sign or school crossing sign. They'll also have a speed limit with a flashing light next to it, or they'll have the time of day that they want you to go that 10 miles per hour slower before school and after school, like you do around Moore-Hermit Elementary School. They actually have the times posted. I think it's like from 8:30 to 9:15, and then from 3:30 to 4:15, something like that. The city or urban area is 30 miles per hour. That is the maximum speed. Would the speed limit be 25 sometimes? Yes. Or 20? Yes. It could be lower, but the fastest you could ever go in a city would be 30. Now, in your rural areas, it's usually 35. Now, the reason why I put 35 to 50 is that some state routes, like 155, is an example where the speed limit goes 40 and it does go 50. But we're talking about 35 in a rural area would be your back roads that don't have center lines. They don't have a yellow line in the middle. You're probably going to have a max speed of 35 on those roads. But when you get to a state highway, like 155, it can go 40, it can go 50. And then a highway, which is designated by on-ramps and off-ramps, the minimum is 45. And now in the state manual, I believe it's 70. So don't go by what's posted here on the slide, because they've bumped it up to 70. It can be 70 in some areas. Now, it is 65 on the Spalding. It is 65 on 95 near Portsmouth. And I believe it gets as high as 70 on 89 or 91 up north of Concord is when we're seeing the fastest speeds. A house trailer is just a modular home. Usually going to see a wide load. Those vehicles have to go slow. In different parts of the country, I just wanted to show you here. It says on selected parts of the highway in Idaho, Montana, Nevada, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, Wyoming, 80 on selected highways. Texas goes up to 85. So just realize that when you go from state to state, there will be fluctuations. So don't think that what you're learning here in New Hampshire is going to be carryover for every state. It's not. So this is why it's so important to be looking for your signs, because once you go beyond the sign, you may not have another one for a while. Fines for a construction zone is not less than $250 or more than $500. So I want you to know that. We are in a time where construction is taking place. I had a student do a highway lesson today. We were on Route 4 going from Lee to Portsmouth to the Portsmouth Circle, and we encountered 2 work crews where we had to stop, and we were going at a much, much lower speed to make them safe. It was down to a single lane. High-speed driving. If you drive faster than the prevailing traffic, of course, you're going to have to continue to pass other vehicles. That's not safe, so don't want to do that. And you're building a habit which is awfully difficult to break. So try to go the speed limit and don't play leapfrog where you're going one after another car, going faster and faster. When you double your speed, your stopping distance can be sometimes 4 times greater. There's a risk of serious injury 4 times greater at 60 than at 30. So when you go faster, it makes sense. You don't want to hit something at 60 miles per hour. It would be much better to hit something out of control like a car that's slipping and sliding on a highway in bad weather. Hit them at around 30, 25. Okay, you'll survive those types of crashes. A crash around 60, even with a seatbelt on and airbags, there's going to probably be some injury, some concussion. It could be fatal. Okay, so go slow. Waste fuel increases wear and tear on your tires in the vehicle. That may not seem like a big deal to you right now because you're probably not paying for your tires or the gas in the car. But when you're the one that's doing it, it's going to make a big difference because you only have so much money to go around. Or you're going to have to just charge it, and then you're going to have to pay it later. And that's a problem. And, of course, tailgating is always a problem because if everyone's going the speed limit, you're going faster than the speed limit, you're going to be running up on the back end of other vehicles constantly. You're going to be what we call the perpetual tailgater. You get by one car, you tailgate the next. You get past that car, you tailgate the next. You are a perpetual tailgater. Oh, I didn't download this commercial. It was one of my favorites. The slow driver can be as dangerous as the high-speed driver. Makes others take risks. As we said, tailgating is always going to be a problem. Remember, it's against the law to drive at a low speed that holds up normal traffic flow. So use courtesy by moving to the right and allowing others to pass. In the worst case scenario, you may want to pull over, stop, let others get by you, and then check your mirror, use your directional, move back out into the road to go further down the road. Oh, I didn't download all these videos. Missed them. All right. This is really important, so I want you to write this down. I'm going to get out of this for a second. When it comes to speeding, I will tell you that I don't know very many people that have driven their entire life and haven't been pulled over by a police officer. I have been pulled over in the driver's ed vehicle with students, and when I was younger, in my 20s, before I was a driving instructor, I've been pulled over. I've been pulled over twice while I've been a driving instructor. It wasn't a moving violation per se. One was they pulled me over because I had a license plate light out. You know you can be pulled over for that. You have a license plate light that illuminates your license plate. Well, bulb was out. I got pulled over for that when I was driving with my family. The other time was a registration. There was a mix-up on the registration on the vehicle. Okay, the town hall had it wrong. I didn't realize it, and we got pulled over for it. You will get pulled over by a police officer at some point in your life. So this is really important for you to write this down and understand it. The other thing I want to mention is because of what has been happening over the last few days, I think that most of you are aware of what is happening in Minneapolis about the brutality, the death of Mr. Floyd, all to the hands of a police officer. So anytime that you get pulled over and you have any interaction with a police officer, what we covered right now is going to be so important to de-escalate any potential problem, okay? I do not want you to ever have a fear of a police officer. I don't want you to ever disrespect a police officer, because I don't think with a traffic stop it's going to lead to anything positive. Okay, too many young men, and I guess it happens to women too, but I think we see it more in the news, is that when you put yourself in a situation where you're being disobedient or not helpful, that it's going to change the attitude of a police officer. And I just don't want you to have that happen. So let me get back to the slide here, and let's go over what should happen when you get pulled over. So let's role play. The blue lights, I'm going to be the police officer, and you're going to be breaking the law, speeding, okay? Let me give you the case scenario. You've got your license, and you're driving to school. You're probably about 10 minutes away, and the bell's going to ring in 5 minutes. So you already know you're going to be late. And the reason why you're going fast is you don't want to be super late. So you're going about 10, 15 miles above the speed limit. You know that you are, okay? You're just trying to get there as quickly as possible. All of a sudden you go around the corner, and there's a police officer off on the side, and he's got one of his radar guns, and he's pointing at your vehicle, just like we just talked about. He's locked you in, and he's got you clocked. You're going 15 over the speed limit. He gets in his cruiser, and he pulls you over. Okay? This is what I want you to do. Find a safe place to pull over. Pull well off the roadway. That's the first thing. Nothing is going to make a police officer more angry than if you put him in harm's way when he has to walk to your vehicle. This is why they put the cruiser out about a foot or two beyond the edge of your vehicle. So their cruiser acts like a shield. It protects them when they're standing next to your vehicle. Go up the road to a driveway, to a parking lot. Drive 2 or 3 miles just with your hazard lights on, going slow. Go to a well-lit area. Drive to the police station. All these things you can do if you don't feel comfortable with where you're pulling over. Second thing, stay calm. When you find a safe place, just stay in the vehicle and keep your hands visible. Nothing is going to make an officer more nervous than if he sees you kind of, let me get out of here for a second. If an officer sees you do this, okay, why did I go underneath the dash? Was I hiding something? Was I grabbing something? They're trained to watch your movement as they approach the vehicle. And the other thing too, and I'm not going to stand up, but I'm going to get up a little bit. I'm going to take my hand, is that when they walk to your vehicle, they're going to push down on your trunk. 2 reasons. One, they want to make sure there's nobody else in the trunk that's going to pop out when they walk up to the vehicle. The other thing is they're putting their fingerprints on your car. So if anything ever happens to them, there's physical evidence that they've been there at your vehicle. So they probably radioed ahead telling that they've pulled somebody over and they've given your tag numbers, your license plate number. The officer's going to ask for the documents. So give me your license and registration. You should be able to find that. You know your license is in your pocket, your wallet, your purse, or whatever, and your registration is in your glove compartment. So just go get the information and then give it to the officer. If you can't find it or you don't have it, that's going to make them suspicious. Is it a stolen vehicle? Why can't he give me this stuff? What's going on? Now, this is where we can have a debate. This is where things can go bad really quick. I don't think it's smart to lie, cry, or make excuses. If you really don't know why they pulled you over and the officer says, do you know why I pulled you over? Be honest. Say, no, I don't know why you pulled me over. Okay, you might not know. But the scenario that I gave you about going to school too fast, I'd be honest. I'd say, I'm late for school. And I've been late a couple times this month and the school's not happy. All right? The officer knows what time of day it is. If he's from that town, he probably knows when school's going in. So if you're, 5 minutes till the bell rings, he knows you're telling the truth. If you start, coming up with all these different things, he's not going to probably buy it. Okay? And he's going to think that you're just trying to, give him a line to get out of a ticket. But whatever you want to do, you can do. I wouldn't, provoke an officer, say, officer, don't you have anything better to do? Officer, I'm not really breaking the law. Why don't you get bank robbers? Or officer, I don't have any donuts in the car. I mean, don't be flippant. Don't try to be smart. They may not have a sense of humor, so don't do any type of things like that. And the other thing is don't bribe the officer. Meaning, don't belittle him and say, you could give me the ticket, but my dad knows the police chief. I'm going to get out of this ticket anyways. Or I know a state trooper. He's going to help me out. Those are all things that don't go over really well. And by the way, most tickets cannot be fixed. There was a day when family members could probably contact a friend in the force and you could probably get out of it. But nowadays, those things just don't happen. And an officer has to go by the book. There are so many things that could happen to him if he doesn't do what's right. And lastly, with speed, it's too easy to get caught up in the feeling of going fast. If you really, truly want to go fast, go to Lee Speedway, go to Epping, go someplace where it's legal, pay a little bit of money, go on the track and see how fast your car can go. If you want to see it can go 110, 120, do it someplace that would handle that type of a speed. But don't think getting on 95, going 100 miles per hour, it's going to affect other people. At any moment, an animal could come out. You can have a mechanical problem. A tire could blow out. Something bad's going to happen. And how would you feel if you had friends in the car, you lived through the crash, but they didn't, or you killed an innocent person? There's a lot of outrage right now of people doing the wrong thing for the wrong reason. So be smart. Don't get caught up. And high school kids have a tendency to do that because you're young and inexperienced and you think nothing will ever happen to you. I don't normally show, I like showing videos. I think it adds to the topic. I want to show you things that are topical and give you information. We saw a somewhat lengthy video on the 3 types of crashes. By the way, know that for the midterm. Remember, body to the inside of the car. Car to the wall, body to the inside of the car, and then organs to the body cavity. Know that for the midterm. This is a video that I'm going to show you in a moment. Is kind of lengthy. It's about 25 minutes. It's going to take us right to the end of today's class. And your homework, if you take a look at your sheet, it says danger of speed video. Okay, so if you take a look at the syllabus, that's the video that I'm going to show you. And I've put on our Facebook page some questions. Let me see if I can throw it up here on the board. Whoop. Let me unlock it. Let's see if I can unlock it. Hold on. Let me get out of here for a second. It's not letting me show you the picture. Well, anyways, it's on the Facebook page. I think there's 5 questions. So this is a reactionary paper that I want you. It's what did you think the parents felt about the accident? So let me give you a little a breakdown of the video. It's probably about 10 years old. Good video. I really like it because it shows high school kids that are having a good time, but they're getting a little bit out of hand on how fast the vehicle's going. And they've got an SUV that is just packed full of, and it's girls, that are packed full of a soccer team. There's like, I'm not going to tell you how many in the car because that's one of the questions. It shows me that you know that you've been watching it. But I want you to answer the questions about how did the driver felt, how were the parents of the victims, and so there are some. Was the sentence that they handed down to the driver, was it fair and just? Because remember, you are going to be held liable for your actions as a driver. So listen to the people that are your passengers. If they're uncomfortable with the way you're driving and they're speaking up, you should listen to them. So go to the Facebook page. That's where you're going to find the reaction homework questions. Remember to get your homework in. A lot of you are still missing some of your assessments. I'll let you do the midterm, but I will not let you do the final. You will not be able to pass the class, take the final, or drive if you do not do your assessments. There are only 10 questions per chapter that you're supposed to be reading. That is how we're ending each of our class. The last 10, 15 minutes to get us to 9:30 is supposed to be your homework or your assignment that you'd be doing. So, and if you want the answers, remember, I can send those to you later tonight or tomorrow. So let's take a look at the dangers of speed.
Is that okay? Answer me if you're okay.
Fond du Lac County 911, where's your emergency?
Would have been in an accident.
Okay.
We're on Beach House, just out of Camelsport.
Okay. Do you have a better crossroad at all?
Me?
Okay. And how many?
We got 9 girls here.
How many vehicles?
1 vehicle.
Is anybody injured?
We've got 9 people very injured.
Okay. What kind of injuries?
I don't know. I can't hear all of them. We've got a smushed car. I'm unsure how to tell.
Were you involved?
We do need help.
Okay. Were you involved?
Quiet, please. Thank you.
Ma'am?
I was invited to a sleepover with a group of girls that were going to be on the soccer team. We ended up having a good time. First of all, we were painting nails, doing anything girls would do at a sleepover, when we decided that we wanted to go get some food. So we left the house. It was probably around midnight when we left the house. We had also had some toilet paper that we were planning on going to TP with. We ended up at Taco Bell, having a great time. Probably one of the best sleepovers I'd been to, especially since it was a new group of girls that I hadn't known. After Taco Bell, we went to a few different houses, finally chose one that we wanted to TP'd out of fun. Then after TPing, it was time to go home. We were finished. We were on our way back to Katie Berg's house.
I texted Katie, they were on their way home, and she said, she told me, yes, got the job done, meaning they were TPing. And then within about 15-20 minutes, but they weren't home yet, and all of a sudden we heard sirens because we don't live too far from the fire station. And then I woke Jim up and I said, the girls are not home yet, they were on their way home, and I hear sirens. I need to try and get a hold of Katie. And I tried to get a hold of Katie, and there was no answer. And that's when we started to panic, and we went outside and we heard more and more sirens, and then we went down to the fire station and they said there's been a horrific crash, and they were going to set up, and helicopters, Flight for Life was coming in to the high school parking lot.
EMTs, we respond to scenes. We do not ask for this. We are forced into this situation. It affects everybody, not just the people involved. It affects everybody here on the fire scene, ambulance, police, and surrounding community. So every girl that was in that vehicle, we either knew or had either stayed at our house at least one time. So it could have been my daughter, could have been anybody's daughter. All these girls I knew. Some of the girls I couldn't even tell who they were that night with the blood.
I remember waking up in the field and I was looking around and I didn't really know what happened. And I tried to get up, but I couldn't. And then Carly came over to me and I asked her what happened. And she said that we were in a bad car accident. And then I asked her if she could stay by me and she said no, she had to go find the other girls. And then I passed out again. And then I just remember waking up to the EMTs and the ambulance lights.
It was dark and cold, and it was just this, it was scary. I didn't think anything was wrong. I was fine. I knew I was going to be okay. I was I was talkative, I was responsive. I didn't think anything was wrong at that point. I just figured everyone had a few injuries, no big deal. And then next thing I knew, I was watching these ambulances pull up and watching these EMTs pull up and pronouncing my friend's dead. Yeah.
Phone rang. It was about 5:23. Didn't have a clue what it was, who would be calling, call so early. Got up, picked up the phone, and it was Mrs. Berg, Bonnie Berg, calling. And she said the girls never made it home.
She was hysterical.
Yeah, I had the phone, but he could hear her hysterical voice through
the receiver
that I was holding.
I mean, I was in bed. I jumped out of bed, so you're 10, 15 feet away from me, and I could hear Bonnie through the receiver.
But she said the girls never made it home. And I said, Bonnie, what do you mean the girls never made it home? They're sleeping over at your house. And then she said
she's talking about sirens and choppers
and she said they never made it home. They went out, they never made it home. And then she's talking about, but I don't know how many times it says Bonnie, slow down, calm down.
Bonnie, calm down.
Just so I could try to piece together what she was trying to tell me.
And you said, Bonnie, where do we go?
And that's where she says, I don't know. I don't know where anybody is. There's kids going down to Milwaukee. There's kids getting ambulance to Fond du Lac.
Well, that night, Sabrina's brother Nick took her to the gathering of the teammates. They were going to be teammates. They weren't all friends. Some of the girls actually, that was the first night they met each other. She was excited because she was an underclassman, and the upperclassmen who were friends of her brother invited her to be part of this. So we all told her, you should go. They want you to be part of the team.
Yeah, she was excited to go. I mean, she thought it'd be
right.
a neat idea.
And then the next morning, we got notification because our two boys, Nathan and Nicholas, they had to be at a wrestling tournament, and they had to be up at the high school at 7 o'clock. And then they started texting and calling saying, get a hold of Sabrina right away. There's been an accident with all the soccer girls. So I tried calling her phone. I didn't know who to call because nobody had notified us at that point. Actually, nobody notified us at all that morning. I had to call around. I called hospitals. They couldn't give me anything because of HIPAA. I called Mr. Scannell because I had his number, and he's the one who told me his daughter, that Caitlin, had passed. So I didn't want to call any more parents because that is not what I wanted to hear, but I didn't know who to call.
At 7 o'clock that morning, I received a call from Sabrina's mom, and she knew that I was there. And she asked me if I knew anything about her daughter or how she was. My wife was also an EMT. She was here on the scene that night also. I knew she was dead. I couldn't tell her over the phone that her daughter was dead. The next day, my wife and I went there, and we apologized. We went to the Scannells. We went to all three of the girls that passed.
I remember that when we were traveling down the road, speed was increasing, and then as we had started to go up the hill, we took air, and I remember landing. We were all laughing and screaming, not out of fright, but out of fun. But then the vehicle did a little bounce, and there was dead silence because we swerved right, left, right, left, and hit the ditch and missed the telephone pole. So then we were continuing through the field at a high amount of speed, and I remember the first couple rolls. Then, since I hadn't been buckled, I remember the moment that I hit my head up on top of the roof of the vehicle, and I can still recall the sound exactly of the vehicle. But after that moment of hitting my head, I blacked out, and a while after I woke up on the ground, and nothing felt real. I didn't know what was going on, really. I literally felt like I was in a nightmare. It still is a nightmare.
Hello?
Hi there, Kylie?
Yes.
Hi there, this is the 911 center calling.
Do you know my location?
Okay, hold on. Yes, are you on Beechnut Drive?
Yes, Beechnut Drive.
Okay, hold on one second. I've got officers and multiple ambulances responding, okay?
Awesome, that is, thank you.
Okay, I need you to stand in line with me for 1 second, okay?
Okay. Teresa, honey. Teresa, where are you going?
Okay.
Are you okay, Teresa? Teresa.
Okay, Kylie, you said there's 9 people injured, correct?
9 or 8, I can't remember right now. I think just 8.
Okay, is anybody pinned in?
I don't see anyone pinned in right now.
Okay.
But my car is pretty smushed.
Okay, is anybody unconscious?
One is not responding to me. The rest of them are awake.
And were you involved, or did you just come across it?
I was driving.
Okay.
Teresa, are you okay, honey?
Are you all teenagers, or?
We're all teenagers, yes. I was driving too fast down the road, and I got us all into an accident. Here, I see the ambulance. I'm going to get it.
As a crash reconstructionist investigating this crash, we were able to determine the following. In the distance, you'll see the far hill, and then you'll see the closest hill to us, and then behind us is a third hill. So what happens is the vehicle comes over the hill in the distance at a high rate of speed. The road then comes down to the hill, it levels off for a short distance, and then you'll crest the small hill. Now, you're coming over the small hill, again, well in excess of the speed limit. You come down into this knoll where the bike trail is, and then you'll go up the third hill. And when they crest this third hill is where the problem happens. When they come over the small hill and they start to go down, the speed at which they're traveling, it creates the weight of the vehicle is going to come off the springs. So now you're going to lose a little steering. You come down into the hollow, if you will, is the best way I can describe it, or knoll. Now the weight on the vehicle is compressed onto the springs, and so when they come up the third hill, you have that little extra kick that takes the weight off the springs. And at that point, the vehicle, when I say airborne, I don't mean that the vehicle is 5, 10 feet, 15 in the air. What it does is it becomes airborne, and what I mean by that is the tires come off the roadway. And it could be 2 inches, it could be 5 inches, it could be 6 inches. But now the tires have lost contact with the road. So now you've lost all steering. And in essence, what happens is, if it's a matter of the driver just merely inputting a little bit of steering to the left, or if it was caused because the weight of the vehicle came up, now the tires are off, and with that weight, does it just enough turn her? And when the car lands back on the tires aren't straight, they're canted a little bit to the left, so now of course the vehicle wants to veer to the left. So at that point, the driver then tries to correct by steering, input steering to the right. Well, she gets it corrected, but now there's a little overcorrection. Now she's got to steer back to the left. And what happens is you get the serpentine effect. And what I mean by that is left, right, by steering back and forth, back and forth. But once you lose it, you've lost it. And there's not much steering input that you're going to be able to correct it if you're going that fast. Slower speeds, you can correct it. Faster speeds, once you lose it, you've lost it. So after the vehicle is done serpentining, it now travels into the ditch. And prior to entering the field, there's a large stone. The passenger side of that vehicle strikes the stone. That in turn then causes the vehicle to pitch towards the driver's side. And at that point, it starts its roll over the 350 feet. And during that 350 feet is when occupants then are thrown from the vehicle.
Well, those little hills that you have on the roads that you can go over and it makes your stomach drop, that's what we were going for. And it just, I've been over them before at way slower speeds, and they still made my stomach drop.
Everything happened so fast, and nobody told the driver to slow down. We all had a chance to tell them to slow down, and we didn't. The fun was not worth any of this whatsoever.
I broke my back in 3 spots. I lost vision in my left eye. I broke both arms. I had severe lacerations to my head and brain damage.
I still will find myself sitting in class or trying to fall asleep. I'll wake up at 3 in the morning and I'll have flashbacks. And I can still hear the noise of the silence of us girls in the vehicle from when we knew it wasn't right. And I can still hear the sound of the crashing, of the rolling of the vehicle.
The cause of the crash was due to high speed. This was a dangerous road, and to mix the dangerous road with speed is not going to equal anything good. And because of that high speed, every second of my day, my heart aches for the rest of my life, and along with a lot of other people, and all because of one mistake of the high rate of speed. It just, forever, we have to suffer for one moment of what they thought or the driver thought was going to be a thrill, is now we have to suffer.
I don't call it an accident, I call it a crash, because going at such an excessive speed and having this crash occur, that was a deliberate, conscious choice of the driver to go that fast. She put her life, the driver, in jeopardy, and she put every passenger's life in jeopardy. It's just a miracle that there are 6 survivors from that crash, because the excessive speed,
and that they can all walk and talk to them.
Yes, and that there's no, to me it's a miracle, because if you saw the vehicle, it was terribly, just every window blown out, tires gone. We saw the vehicle months later, because I had to see that vehicle and put my hand on the seat where my daughter took her last breaths.
There's images in my mind from that night that will never go away. They're in there forever. It is something you cannot fathom unless you see it.
As a deputy for 31 years and being involved in crash reconstruction, there seems to be a certain underlying factor in a lot of crashes, and that's speed. And If you're a passenger in a vehicle and you feel that that driver is going too fast, you need to, for your own safety, tell that driver to slow down. I guess my thought is that you have a choice. You can be a continuation of the problems that are on the highway, which is being aggressive, excessive speed, following too close, taking unnecessary risks, being inattentive. Or you can be part of the solution. Drive the speed limit, increase that following distance, be patient, and you have a choice, which you're going to choose.
That is a message I want parents to remind their children every time they walk out the door, you know, to drive responsible, speed kills, and
you can never say it enough.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with repeating it.
And kids have to understand, our young adults have to understand, when they take that wheel, they are responsible for everybody in that vehicle.
There's just so much that can happen, and you could blow a tire out, you could lose a tie rod brake, you could have something run out ahead of you, a farmer's dog, you could have a child. There's recreational trails that someone could be crossing. There could be another vehicle that's coming towards you and you're losing control, and it's never safe. And because of it, there's 3 lives lost and there were several injured. And these were lives. This wasn't an event that happened. This was a speed, and you can't move on that easily. And you never get a second chance after that. There's not a second chance. There's one chance there, and it was taken the wrong way, and then, you know, as a result, that there's.
I guess we don't want anybody else to have to go through this either. It's like, I mean, things happen so fast with kids. I guess sometimes kids figure if they don't say nothing, things will be, you know, maybe they didn't realize how fast she was going, but I mean, maybe someone would have said something, she might have slowed down and all 9 girls would still be here instead of only 6.
And parents, you have to let your kids know that when they start driving, they are responsible for everyone in that vehicle. Whatever happens, whether it's an accident or not, they are responsible for the results of what happens.
Because we got 2 older sons, and we always tell them that. I mean, that's so tough because Sabrina didn't drive, so we just hope that when she was with somebody, well, that was the first time she was with older girls. Just kind of assumed every parent told their kids the same thing, you know. Because, yeah, you're responsible for their safety.
And if your child feels that they're not in a safe situation, you know, tell them to call home, tell them to, you know, give you a call to come pick them up, because I'd rather see them, and I'm sure you would rather see them be in a safe vehicle than having to get in a car that they don't feel safe in.
That car went 800 and some feet from the time it left the road. I think it rolled 5 times or 6 times. The speed thing is a major thing. We need to slow down. Kids need to slow down. Like I said, maybe kids should see some of these pictures of these kids that are killed rather than hiding it from them. You know, maybe if you'd see the blood, maybe if you'd see the head that was split open, maybe if you'd see some of this stuff, you guys would remember what the heck's going on. But they don't have a clue. They forget. They think they're invincible. They think that nothing's going to happen to them.
I am very fortunate that I am still here, but speed does kill. Clearly, it is seen that I don't have 3 great friends of mine, and I never will have them back, and I would do anything to have them back in a heartbeat, but speed kills. If I could turn the clock back, I would in a heartbeat. Wouldn't be an option. I would do anything to have those 3 girls back here with me. Do anything to not have to go through what I do on a daily basis, and to not have seen what I saw, and I would turn the clock back if I could and say something, slow down, anything.
After going through this experience, I think it's important for people to follow the speed limits because there's a reason they're there, and it's for your safety, and if you ever are going above the speed limit where you're uncomfortable or somebody else is, that you should really just tell them to stop before anything bad happens where you can't go back.
Don't be scared to speak up. It doesn't make you a wimp. It doesn't make you a bad kid for saying slow down. It would have saved some lives if I would have done it. And I would give anything, like I said, to go back and say slow down, please.
I love taking pictures, and my daughter Katie loved being in them, so the two of us together, it was a lot of fun. And this picture frame here represents all the pictures that Katie will never be in as a result of the high-speed crash. This would have been a picture of her with her friends playing soccer, and a picture of her at her junior prom, and a picture of her doing a powder puff game in school with the girls, and a picture of her graduating her senior year, and a picture of us going with her to different colleges, looking at where she's going to go, and a picture of us going to Germany to see her brother over there, vacation. There's so many pictures that are not here that would have been if it wasn't because of this speed that killed her.
We were just all having fun and didn't think anything bad was going to happen. Nobody ever thinks anything bad's going to happen.
This is a difficult case. You've got the lives of 3 promising young women that are gone. You can't bring them back. It was just a horrific scene with these girls, one dead, some dying, all or most very seriously injured. I really don't care a whole lot whose idea it was or whether they were egging her on to do that. I just don't give anybody a break for peer pressure. I never have. The bottom line is whether it was her idea or one of the other girls or whatever, she was driving the car. She was responsible for the safety of the other girls.
That night it was just a bunch of girls having fun. We were at Katie's house and we were painting each other's nails, and then we decided to go to Taco Bell, and then we TP'd a friend's house, and I just remember everyone having a blast and having a smile on their face, and we couldn't stop laughing. And even in the car up to the last second, I just remember hearing laughs.
We're all teenagers, yes. I was driving too fast down the road and I got us all into an accident.
So I hope that you took away from this video that it's very easy to have good intentions, having some good fun in a vehicle and having it get away from you, but also that you have to listen to other people that are speaking up, or they should be speaking up in the car to tell you to slow down. I cannot imagine the grief of those family members grieving the loss of their loved ones. So what I'd like you to do with the remainder of what we've got for time, because we're going to sign off in a moment, is to go to the Facebook page, and I have downloaded a sheet that you have to answer the questions for, and I'd like you to do that for your homework. Study for the midterm. We're going to start tomorrow's class with talking about techniques and tips on parking, and that will go for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and then at the 45-minute mark, we'll probably break off and go do the midterm. and that'll be the remainder of the time. If we don't finish everything with parking, then we'll start that up at the beginning of Wednesday's class when we deal with driving emergencies. So remember to get those assessments in. I'll let you do the midterm, but I want your homework done. There are some of you that are really slacking on your homework, and you've got to be present for, there are only 16 of you that are viewing right now, I can tell. So I want you to sign off right now so I know who's here, who cut out too early or whatever, and do that worksheet. And we'll see you tomorrow for the midterm. So have a good night.